The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Good morning and welcome to Guardian Radio AM. Today, of course, is Friday, the last day of it's not the last day of the week. The week starts at Sunday, so the last day of the week is Saturday. So today is the penultimate day before the last day of the week.
Unless Saturday is your Sabbath, and then today is the last day of the week. And you start your week afresh on the Sabbath.
That makes sense. But today is Friday. It's a little after 11 o'clock in the morning. And once again, this is CA Newry, and I shall be your host for the day. Today, we're supposed to be talking farming. Today, we're supposed to be talking about how what we should supposed to be doing in the aspect of farming. But before then, we actually have a guest who's supposed to be on there. I can squeeze you in because this is big news. This is important to the Bahamas. And I say, Aaron, you have about 10 minutes to do all of this. But Department of Inland Revenue with Breman Todd is in-house. Mm-hmm. They're having a big symposium coming up soon. Right, that's why I say I will definitely squeeze you in because this information needs to get out. And one or two of the things that you're going to be talking about is how to open up a business, the frustration in terms of how to get all these entities to open a business in one spot, right? So I say, okay, come on. I can even let Erin lead because she have all the notes for that show, and I can I will tarry a bit before I have my consultant, who I have invited today, Bo Farming, to just do that. So go ahead, Aaron. Be quick and make sure to ask Breman Todd all the pertinent questions about this symposium that's supposed to be coming up. When is it? Next week?
Tuesday, mate. Boy, you know how to throw a person under the bus,
You should have come on time.
Me and you from Big Red.
You should have come on time. That's what. You should have come on time to your show. You should have come on time.
That's why I end up on your.
Aaron had a whole show planned out for you from 10 o'clock.
You know what?
It's now 11:08.
I appreciate you because we go way back.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Good morning, Mr. Bowman Todd.
Good morning, Ms. Green. I humbly apologize for my lateness starting this. I humbly thought it was 11 o'clock, so I do apologize.
That's okay because the title of the event is Financial Symposium for New and Growing Entrepreneurs and Businesses. I would have thought we was talking agriculture too, because I like growing money and I like growing money makers. I like growing young people, like fruit on a tree, man.
And that's what they say when they say money don't grow on a tree. That's a lie.
Yeah, buddy. So, Mr. Bowman Todd, it's a pleasure to have you in studio today. We're talking about the Department of Inland Revenue's Financial Symposium for New and Growing Entrepreneurs and Businesses, set for Tuesday, March 25th and Wednesday, March 26th, 2025.
That is correct.
All right, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., Andre Rogers National Baseball Stadium.
Yes. So the event is completely open and free to persons. Let me just throw that out there before persons think they have to come and pay. The idea is we're trying to drive new business persons as well as persons who are probably already in business and want to grow their business and give them the tools that we need. We know a lot of times we have persons say it's difficult to start a business, and we understand sometimes it can be complicated. But what we're looking to do is to help persons all in one place to have all of the other regulators, whether it's NIB that's going to be in place, customs, immigration, because a lot of times persons think we're the actual regulator when we're just a facilitator, even though you start and finish with us. So this symposium is about getting everybody in one place. So when you come with whatever idea or dream it is, that by the time you walk in and walk out, you should have your business license in hand, all of your documents and everything
At the
is
event.
actually at the event once everything is in order. Now, along with it, because Mr. Newry say I only got 10 minutes, so let me talk fast about this. We are also going to have some of the private institutions like the Bank of the Bahamas Development Bank, Scotia Bank, Royal Bank. We're going to have the financial institutions because we want persons to understand with your business how to properly build credit. It's not just about getting a loan. How do you work along with the financial institutions to build credit so your business could develop as well? In addition to that, we'll also probably have the Chamber of Commerce and the SBDC, as well as a number of media houses, including Guardian Media Group, as well as we're going to have the Alive Media Group, BTC, as well as those persons from the Verizon Media Group, because we need persons to understand you can have the best business in the world, but if you're not properly keeping your records, you're going to have a problem with compliance. If you don't know how to market your business, nobody's going to know about it. So the idea for the symposium is to have everybody in one place that can help you be successful, because we don't just want to collect your tax. We want you and need you to be successful in your business. And so we're inviting persons to come if you're just starting a business, if you're already in business, or if you just have questions that you need answered. And even if you're trying to just get through those payments, because we have our 2 deadlines coming up, which is March 31st for both the real property tax payment and the business license payment. So if you even need assistance with that, we can't do it for you, but we can guide you through the process to help you. We're trying to get persons in the place. And this has been our driving goal for the entire year, because we've had a number of pop-ups, even starting with the beginning of the year with the business license started. For me, my drive is the young persons as well, because we've had a number of field trips that came in, one from Temple Christian, one from T.A. Thompson. And as we visited the different family islands, we went into the schools, because my belief is if we can start with the young persons to teach them how to start a business on the right foot from the very beginning, then they could grow. They can help somebody else to grow at the same time.
So two quick questions. Of the institutions, financial institutions that are participating in the symposium, are credit unions participating? Are they in this sort of business lending space?
In this particular round, I would say no, and it's for a number of reasons, because we've been reaching out to some institutions, and honestly, we haven't gotten some back. But this is just the first attempt at us doing something like this to make it easier for business persons, because as those business persons grow and they develop, it makes it easier for us not just to collect taxes, but it makes it easier for the government, it makes it easier for the country, and as they grow and prosper, then that makes it easy for us all together. Because we don't want persons ducking when they hear the Department of Inland Revenue. I didn't hear doors click plenty of times. But the idea is for you to be comfortable with your record keeping, with your compliance, so it makes it easier for you and it makes it easier for us.
Absolutely. So two questions I'd had, combining them, outcomes and what materials or resources do I need to bring with me? But I sort of got my answer. If I am able to bring all of my documents required for getting a business license and starting the business, if I have that documentation available and ready, I can bring that with me to the symposium, and I can find a team or an individual who will facilitate the submission of the application.
So what I'm encouraging persons to do, even before they get to the symposium, they need to go on our website, inlandrevenue.finance.gov.bs, start the process with applying for your trade name. So even by the time you get there, if the trade name is already approved, that's already one step for you. That can be done online. And even if it isn't, when you come, we can still assist you with that process. The idea behind the symposium is to make sure at the end of the day, once all of your documents and everything is in order and the other regulators are there available, you should be able to get in and get out and have your documents all together by the time you leave the symposium.
All right.
Now, we know depending on the business, some of the regulators we may not have available, but once you can get the process started with us, it should make it a whole lot easier for you as well.
Right. And you may not have the unit or office available, but you could tell me this is what to expect when you go to that unit. This is what you will likely need to bring with you to that unit. Here's how you prepare for this part of the process.
And this is why I'm encouraging persons definitely to go onto our website, inlandrevenue.finance.gov.bs, because you will have there, depending on the type of business you're trying to start, the listing of all of
Everything
the
you will
documents
need.
that you'll need. So by the time you come to us, you should basically already have the majority of your documents to make this process for you as easy as possible.
All right. Format for the 2-day event. Can I attend or observe virtually? And is 10 to 3 and it's free? Am I expected to provide my own lunch and refreshments, sir?
Well, I do apologize in this instance, I got to watch
It's
the government
free-
first.
it's free, though.
It's free, but you'll have to provide your own lunch.
Well, that's
So
okay,
you
because
can-
the thing free.
So what we're doing is it's going to be in person for those to come in, but also trying to reach the family island. We're going to have certain segments that will actually be streamed on our YouTube channel at DIR Bahamas. Because the format is also for each of the different partners that are coming to have at least a 10-minute presentation where they talk not just about their products, but they also talk about how does it connect to business and you being successful in business. So those are going to be segments that we really take in stream, so persons have an opportunity to learn that information, because it's hard to be in all of the different islands at the same time, but that's why I love technology. So even if you physically can't be there, you can still stream into the different sessions and they'll be available afterwards for persons. And if you have questions that you can't get answered, you can take them and post them on the YouTube or any of our socials, and we'll be glad to answer them as quick as we can.
If you want to trade in the Family Islands, or you are already doing business with Family Island vendors, businesses, or communities, I would say tune into this discussion, because hearing the questions that Family Islanders have will give you an opportunity to fine-tune the services that you're providing to Family Islanders. Okay, symposium focus areas: business license application and renewal process, real property tax overview for business owners, accessing government business support services, VAT registration, filing and payment guidance, tax compliance strategies and financial best practices, business startup and financial assistance.
Let me throw in there as well. We also have persons, don't forget, for branding and marketing of your business in addition to that, because that's very important for businesses. Understanding good record keeping practices and how that lines up when it comes to not just compliance, but how that also lines up when it comes to you being able to get the credit record that you actually need. Because a lot of businesses, they are great at what they do, but they have a lot of difficulties when it comes to their proper record keeping. So all of that is a part of what we're trying to address at this symposium.
Listen, I come in to get a business license for a business to help people get their business up off the ground.
I like that.
And right, hearing the questions that business owners are typically asking, going to inform my policy so I could fine tune the services that I offer to the business community. I think I can try come. I mean, right after 10 a.m. Right after the show.
Well, we'll be there from 10 to 3, and we will be happy to have you. And let me just say to persons who are tuning in, we want persons to be educated and to make it as easy as possible for you, not just to start a business, to be compliant with your business. And if you need assistance, that's what we're there for, to ask for help. And I know a lot of times persons complain and say they can't get through on the phone, but we have a number of different means to try to reach us. But this is also how we're trying to get out to the persons to assist them to make it as easy as possible.
So I say to businesses, if you can, send a staff member. If the management, administration can't go, send someone to the forum. You get a little small business, it's 3 of y'all, send someone. Deputize them, authorize them, empower them with these tools. And all small businesses and entrepreneurs, get out there. Even if you're just selling coconut on the side of the road, get to this symposium. This for you.
I'll say it like this, there's no such thing as a small person, only small dreams. So,
and small chick Johnnies, don't mind. Do you mind that? I come in to see how I have to register them.
Well, thank you so much for having us. Just want to remind persons, it is from 10 to 3, Tuesday and Wednesday, and we invite persons to come out and be a part of it and follow us on all our socials at DIR Bahamas.
25th, 26th of March, next week, be there, Andre Rogers National Baseball Stadium. Do I need to register or I could just show up?
You can register ahead of time, and if you don't register, you can register when you get there as well.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mr. Bowman Todd, Training and Communications Manager, Department of Inland Revenue. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for making it here.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely.
You can talk later, Cecil.
Yes, definitely. Guys, Radio AM, we'll be right back.
Can you believe this? We are now the patrol queens of the neighborhood.
We now large and in charge. So we need to check out what's going on in everybody's yard. What about that gun that we know that Junior and his homeboys just ran out? Can we report that too?
Of course we can.
But we could be in deep trouble if they find out.
We need to report stoppers that is answer your call in Miami.
So then we can report everything? Guns, where they hiding the drugs, who shoot who part of which gang, or who disturbing the peace with the loud music and the motorcycles.
Then our neighborhood will be the best in the Bahamas, and everybody gonna want to come live here. And then our house price will go up, gal.
So what we waiting on? What's the number?
If you see something, say something. Let us all pitch in and stop the crime before it's your time. Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands. Or text us through the Crack Crime Bahamas app. Stop the crime before it's your time.
Just sign in and have a seat, please. They'll call you in for your x-ray shortly.
That's why they call it a waiting room. You won't have that problem at 4th Terrace Diagnostic Center or Imaging at Grosvenor. We never schedule multiple appointments, so you'll be in and out in no time. And if your initial screening reveals a concern, our radiologist can conduct an alternative screening right then and there. Call 328-8157 to schedule an appointment at 4th Terrace Diagnostic Center or Imaging at Grosvenor today.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
For fast, reliable, and impactful printing services, look no further. Let Printmasters bring your masterpiece to life. We stand by our quality products that is second to none. Our affordable pricing and friendly, efficient staff makes Printmasters the ultimate choice for all your printing needs. We can deliver any type of printing services, from banners to booklets to business cards. You name it, we can print it.
Let Printmasters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361.
Everybody Wins Live is bringing you the ultimate giveaway, a brand new Cybertruck. For every $30 spent, you're in the drawing for the ultimate grand prize, a Cybertruck. Drawing live at the Vibes Cartel concert March 29th. You'll also be automatically entered to win tickets to see the world boss himself. 25 lucky winners every single week. Visit everybodywinslive.com to get into the game. See website for full terms and conditions. Must be 18 or over to participate.
And welcome back to Guardian Radio AM. Of course, this is CA Newry. Aaron Green is joining me. We actually have a consultant in today who's going to be talking about farming, backyard farming, what the Bahamas should be doing at this present time in order to sustain itself. So we're talking about sustainability and also efforts in terms of what individuals can do to curtail costs and provide for themselves. So that's what the conversation today. The consultant I have in today would be Gerard. I hope I pronounced that right.
Yeah.
Gerard Davel, right?
Yes, sir.
I know him as a farming consultant and advocate. He's been preaching about backyard farming for a while and activities on what we should be doing and actually empowering Bahamians on how to create their own backyard farming, right? I know that he has gone to many a house and startup systems for that. And I said, let me bring him on to get an update on what's going on with that, his initiatives that he's been doing for the past several years, and also to get some advice on what the Bahamas should be doing and where we should be heading. So without further ado, allow me to introduce my guest here, a consultant, agricultural consultant, Gerard Davel.
Hey, CA.
Good
day, Bahamas. Thank you again for having me. You're such a wonderful diplomat. You always know how to lather it on.
Yeah, I spread it thick. I tend to spread it thick.
Good morning, Aaron. Thank you again for having me here.
Morning.
Good.
I'm happy to be here.
Good. So, as a consultant, right, especially people who do backyard farming, I know you have an online blog that you give detail on what you be doing. Yeah. Why is backyard farming important? What we should be doing as a people, individual Bahamians, and how important is backyard farming for the overall arching, especially when we have this egg shortage, and especially when we say we need import less in the Bahamas. What should we be doing?
So, it's so interesting how we talk about agriculture right now, because many people look at agriculture in different phases of their lives. So you have some persons that want to take towards backyard farming as a version of a hobby, as a version to be able to help them to deal with the mental stresses that they go through. So they use that connection to nature, and so it's not mainly focused on profit, right? They just be able to grow a variety of different things for them to be able to have at their convenience to say that, yes, this is what I'm doing. Then you have persons that want to look at backyard farming from a health and nutrition standpoint. Persons want to be able to know exactly what is going inside their food, where their food is coming from. They take joy in understanding that they're growing their food from seed or maybe from a stick like cassava, and watching it being able to come to fruition. Then you have persons that look at backyard farming, how they could be able to maximize that yard space that they have to help them to pay their light bill, to help them to be able to go on an extra vacation, to be able to help them to contribute to school fees. And so backyard farming in itself can be able to take on so many different shapes and forms. So if you want to talk to a person that says, hey, guess what? I want to be able to, from my backyard, have about $500 a month so that I could be able to help pay some light bills or pay some other fees. Then it would look different, right? We would recommend that you be able to look at herbs, rosemary, thyme, basil, these sort of stuff that you could be able to cut and come again, right? So cut and come again is a technique that you use when you cut off, but it still grows. So you have some vegetables that can do that, right? Like beets. Beets is a vegetable that you have to pull up. When you pull that up, it's done. You have to plant again to get another beet. But with some of these vegetables and herbs, you can actually cut from your rootstock, and you can be able to allow that to continue to grow for another time that you wish to cut again. And so now you would be able to set up a variety of different medicinal herbs, or just mainly herbs that you could use in the kitchen. And these are what you can really profit on. Now you would say that, all right, well, all that money stuff, I'm not really into that money stuff because I'm not good at marketing, I'm not good at going and talking to people, right? I just want to be healthy. Well, guess what? Backyard farming provides that health benefit for you as well. So, you know, the ground, right? It's the ground because if you're familiar with electricity, the ground is where all of the electrical current goes to the ground. So persons love to be able to take off their shoes, use their soles of their feet, get in these backyard gardens to try to positively charge their bodies, to try to get a more healthier approach to life. And they want to be able to dig in the dirt. They want to be able to feel the dirt and watch nature happens. Because when you get into backyard farming, I want to tell you this, from a health aspect, right? Time slows down. You don't have the stresses of the day. You get to enjoy watching, seeing clouds move, being able to see the different insects of nature. And it does a whole lot better for you holistically. Now, we want to be able to say that persons that just want to be able to get a variety of foods. Backyard farming can do that because in a typical space, right, you may say, well, oh, my land is rocky. Well, we have solutions for that. They're called raised beds, right? You may say, well, guess what? I don't have backyard. I live in a condo. Well, guess what? We have vertical farming systems where you can be able to hang plants on your balcony, and it has a semi-automated watering system in which you can be able to grow leafy greens, tomatoes, cucumbers, right there off of your balcony.
Now, as a consultant, you help people with that in terms of setting up farms, backyard farms, some of them raised beds and that. How can, if I'm just new to farming, no clue, you give me 3 ways you can farm. How do I know which way best suits me? I want to do something in my back of my yard. I may have a piece of property there. I may not have a piece of property at all. I just need a raised bed, whatever it is. How do I know what is best for me?
Well,
or just call you one time.
Well, I would say, right, first of all, agriculture, some people like it for a hobby. But agriculture is one of those things that once you start to get into it, right, it's like a boat, right? Expensive. Agriculture is something that they call like agriculture mats. So when you go to the garden store, you intend to pick up one plant, right? But by the time as you then get out of there, you got like 10 plants, like some fertilizer, extra bag of soil. Agriculture takes that self on with you. If you realize that you have any ailments that you do not trust, like the pharmacy medicine, right? Because you know those medicines, once you start taking those pills, they pile up. And you want to say that, well, how can I try to treat myself? And you say, well, guess what? I'm going to try planting these sort of stuffs to help me. You could take that sort of approach to try to gradually get yourself in there. Or you want to say that, hey, I want to, take on a new business venture, right? But it has to be something within you first that wants you to be able to get into it, because agriculture could get very, very expensive once you start to love it.
We do a workshop at Seasonal Sunshine Bahamas for people who live in apartments, right? Like you live in an apartment, your living situation is kind of transitory. And so you kind of moving back and forth. Maybe you are between the island and New Providence for medical issues or with caretaking with someone, right? So we 3 quick techniques for people who don't own the ground that they live on,
Yes.
right? And one is you go to the garden store, get a bag of dirt. I prefer to go on discount day. I can cut the bag of dirt open anyway. So if it already cut, I can buy it at discount. If you're growing things that grow into the ground, like carrots and
Yes,
beets,
yes.
you want to stand the bag up.
Yes.
Right? You may want to put it in a box as well. Stand the bag up and plant at the top of the bag.
Yes.
That gives you space of vertical. So
Yes, you're correct.
its greatest dimension is vertical, and the carrots and beets will grow down.
Yes.
Now, if you grow in tomatoes and herbs and leafy things that grow up, you lay the bag flat.
Yes.
You may not have a box wide enough, but you could open up a cardboard box and lay it on that box. So it's easy to move. If you get moved in the middle of the night, if you get a call and you got to go back to the island, but you don't want to leave your prized possession, you could literally package that up and ship that with you.
Yes.
Now, the 1 gallon water bottle, that's perfect for people who don't have great control over the space, right? You cut that in half, now you have 2 planters. You could grow tomatoes and produce from the top, from the bottom, from the sides. You attach 2 hangers, attach a hanger to it, and now not only can you move it around your garden space or right in the daytime, it's quick to move inside if it's heavy rain.
Yes.
If you have to move, it's really easy to handle and move.
Yes.
The third is specifically for smaller things like herbs, your rosemary, your thyme, your basil, your oregano, even cerasee. You grow in a shoebox. Line it with a plastic bag. Line it with plastic. Grow in the shoebox. You could move that shoebox from this side of the windowsill where the sun is. 3 hours later, the sun is moved. Pick it up and move it easily.
And so a lot of times, right, we've gotten some negative feedback when it comes to the practicality of persons participating in agriculture because they underestimate how time consuming caring for your plants could be. And so one of the programs that I'm affiliated with called Farm by Kids, we came up with a solution where we upcycled the 55-gallon drums would be used for trash, right? We upcycle those, and they create 72 slots in the side of the drum, and you could use those to plant in. And what it does is that even if you have to move, like you're saying, right, you just put the soil in there, the plants grow in, you have growing area on the side, you also have growing area on the top, and if you want, you could just easily empty out the soil, shovel it up, take your drum, and move if you have to. These are one of the wonderful solutions. These kids, they are in the 10th and 12th grade at CB Bethel, and they came up with this vertical farming solution.
Where can people in the public purchase something like that?
Well, right now, you could be able to follow us on Facebook, or you could be able to contact me or Miss DeVoe. She's the guidance counselor at CV Bethel.
Okay, so y'all put a patent. You telling me y'all put a patent on this? Like y'all have taken? Because I was going to tell you, anybody who was make grill with 55-gallon drum, that's who you go to. But it sounds like y'all have a specific design.
Yes.
Of the drum for growing.
Yes, we do have a specific design, and they came up with it, right, doing research and everything like that. We assisted them just by being able to get the materials, supervising them using the electrical machines and everything like that. But they came up with the design themselves.
Now, Newry, Gerard is Davel, but he's a young boy. You see that? He's a young boy. You don't hear his knees in the night. Raised beds are great for people who have weak knees, who are unsteady on their knees, don't want to be kneeling down or cannot kneel down all the time. Raised beds are great for older farmers and older gardeners.
I'm an older farmer and an older gardener, like Aaron said. I can't be kneeling down planting. Where can I find a raised bed in terms, and what should I be planting in a raised bed? Can I plant tomatoes inside that, or potatoes, or what's the best step?
So the good thing is that with raised beds, you could be able to plant a variety of different items. Just like Aaron said, depends on how you construct your raised bed, all means on what you could be able to grow. Let's put back to example the vertical growing systems that we talk about with the kids from CV Bethel, what they created. Inside those, on the sides, if let's all imagine we taking out the garbage, that garbage drum. On the sides, you can be able to grow anything from cucumbers, tomatoes, lettuce, cabbage, beets, broccoli, bok choy, whatever you would name. At the top, you can be able to plant as well on the top. Anything, beets, broccoli, because it's one container. And through the tiered system, the root system doesn't interfere with the other plants that are growing, because they, like in little condos, right? One on the first floor, the next one on the second floor, the other one on the third floor, and it's like a 7-story condo. The key is that with these systems, you can be able to maximize your backyard space, because traditionally, you would need 1 square foot per plant in order to plant in any traditional horizontal planting method. But what that would mean is that you would need a 6 by 12 spot to plant 72 plants. But we're using a vertical drum, which is only 2 by 2. So in that 6 by 12 spot, we can be able to have 5 of these drums there that can be able to exponentially help increase whatever your yield is if you're looking at it from a profitable eye point.
Okay. On your social media platform, I see now you start raising chicks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How can I, as a homeowner, purchase eggs and move from that to say, well, I have eggs or I have chicks or whatever it is?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to be able to caution persons on the purchasing of chicks, because right now we understand that the egg prices are fluctuating, but necessarily having chicks doesn't mean cheaper eggs. It moves more towards the point of being able to understand where your food is coming from, being able to understand that if a crisis happens, you would have a supply, versus persons thinking that it's much cheaper, because they're just like kids. You have to be able to take care of them. You need to make sure that they have fresh water. You need to make sure they have a shelter.
Warm, they're
that
protected.
that they're warm, that they're protected, that you have the right feed for them. And here is a critical point of view inside the Bahamas when we talk about feed. Many farmers have said this before, that there is a problem with the stability of the feed mill in the Bahamas.
Well, I tell you what I think the issue is. The issue is the lack of efficiency, right? An ineffective and inefficient movement of the raw product to make the feed to the mill. Because if you got containers of product coming in, if they are not stored properly, if they're not moved effectively or efficiently, then you can contaminate your mill and your end product.
That isn't quite it. That is a part of it. That's a part of it that sounds good for the public, but the feed mill has systemic issues that nobody seems to wants to figure out. Because number one, I was talking to CA earlier that in agriculture there is a need for an uncomfortable conversation about a tax for agriculture. Because in order for the government to sustainably develop its agricultural product, it needs a way to generate money to support agriculture, and currently it doesn't. And the model that it has at the feed mill is that for every bag of feed it produces, it loses $5. This is the government's version of being able to provide a subvention for farmers. But the issue is that if the money is not being replenished from some tax mechanism, some fundraising source, the kitty eventually runs dry. But what happens when the kitty runs dry? You run into problems paying your suppliers. You'll run into problems paying customs. You'll run into problems clearing the things off the dock properly. So now these things start to look like what you were talking about troubles with transport. But it's a money issue. And we are not properly funding agriculture for it to operate successfully.
I see we have a caller who wants to engage with and ask some questions. Producer, patch that caller through. Go ahead, caller. Can you hear me?
Great show as usual. CA and your guest, how you doing?
Doing well.
Good day,
Yeah, I
sir.
really love this topic, right? I know I have a little habit of saying things that people don't normally say, right? But for farming is stigmatized too as a Haitian man job. Question, how could we change that stigma and get younger people to gravitate towards it? And also, how could we integrate it with technology to get the young people into it? Because farming is a multi-million-dollar job. Also, it grows food. If you grow foods in your country, right, that you will actually help with all the cancer rates and all these other sicknesses we have. Because the country's health is the country's wealth. Correct. I'll hang up and wait for your guest to respond.
Excellent.
I want to know how the caller believes that you can make money from farming. Farming for poor people, man.
No,
I don't know a rich farmer. You know a rich farmer, Aaron?
Don't say that.
Who's not getting some kind of subsidy from the government? I'm talking about a rich farmer.
Because the government doesn't do
I
much
know-
for farmers anyway.
I know 3.
You know 3?
Yeah.
What kind of farm they going? Rich farmer, no. I don't know who just making it.
One, they had a greenhouse and LED grow.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is using a mix of traditional outdoor farming and vertical farming. The other farmer is growing completely traditional, but they use a technique that others are not seemingly using or not enough people are using or has died away. They actually grow directly in the limestone. So the same rock that people are complaining that they need to have removed from the property to make it arable, to make it farmable, that farmer is actually using that rock to produce superior agricultural products.
They making money?
Well, hold on. Here's the next thing. We're talking, I know that we're talking about backyard farming, right? So I know that we're talking about agriculture and consumables, like the food that we eat. But there's also another aspect of agriculture, which is we don't think of it as agriculture because we tend to only think of agriculture as the things that we eat. But there are millions of dollars in agricultural opportunities available in the country if we first acknowledge that agriculture is more than just food, right? And then we acknowledge what exists here locally and what we could do with it. For instance, this Coconut 360 Festival, right? I wish it wasn't in the day. The way that it was on the weekday, and I had things to do. But at the Agribusiness Expo last year, we had a coconut machine from Florida. And I think either 38 or 58 different agricultural products. So not consumables, not the coconut water, not the jelly, but for agriculture, to put back into agriculture. But then we hadn't even started talking about the fact that the world's finest cars, the upholstery is stuffed with coconut coir. The Rolls Royces, the world's finest cars, the upholstery is stuffed with coconut fiber.
Man, you talking about things in the foreign mind.
No. You look at you. Look at you. When you come from work, looking like you've been hobnobbing with the most finest and expensivest of people. I know you walked past a couple of their cars while you was there.
Yeah,
Those cars are here in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Those cars could get repaired in the Bahamas.
They import those cars.
So I want to share.
Go ahead.
I want to share a vision that we have. So, as the president of BAMSI Alumni Association, I have made this proposal put forward that we allocate 200 acres as a pilot project, and we divide that 200 acres into 5-acre plots for young people as an agri-village. But these 5-acre plots will be supported by the government with getting guaranteed off-takers. Because here's the major issue. What the government in agriculture should be doing, it's not. They have an existing policy that anybody importing agricultural products into the Bahamas must first secure 40% of their inventory from local farmers. So that means 40% of all sweet pepper, 40% of all onion, 40% of all tomato, 40% of every agricultural product by policy, which is in the books, should be supported from the local market. Well, simple maths show you how to be able to divide that up. Use the agricultural experts at BAMSI who can be economic forecast that would tell you how much tomatoes that you need planted a week, how much cucumbers, how much squash, how much zucchini. And each one of these 5 acres is designated a crop. And now you have 40 farmers employed with a guaranteed revenue source.
See, let's go back to the caller's initial commentary or question. You sound like you're providing job for immigrants, man. Who could be farming these places? Only immigrants is farming in the Bahamas and that the Conky Joe Bay out west there, right? But who's farmed there?
So I wanna ask you this,
Right now, if I could just touch the hem of Elutra garment, if I could just get to Elutra right now, what they growing in Elutra?
They have millionaires farmers in Elutra?
They got a millionaire farmer in Abaco.
So I'm gonna tell you this, right?
Millionaire?
It's just about the perception that they give it to you because they don't want you to get into it. All right, a 5-acre plot of string beans can be able to get you $175,000 a year. When I say a year, I talking a teacher year, 8 months out of the year. I talking about jail year, 8 months out of the year.
But selling at what price?
Selling it at market price.
No. Stop. Selling it at what price? Because here's what the problem is. I'm in the agriculture vending space, right? 10 years ago, roughly 10 years ago, a farmer is trying to sell me a quarter pound of green beans for $4.
No.
He's trying to break you before you start.
No, but I'm talking.
That's what people face in the.
I can't afford it.
That's what people who are trying to support local are faced with sometimes, right? That they're your basic crops. That's what I want to talk about, like in terms of food security and food sovereignty, right? What are the basic crops that are profitable selling at market price? So we know people are growing tomatoes, we know they're growing onions, we know we're growing sweet peppers, but what do you see primarily on the market here? It's green sweet pepper. They don't even let the sweet pepper mature to see if it's red or it's orange or it's yellow. Those are thyme. I know we got thyme, cassava, not so much cassava, thyme, sweet potato, white sweet potato, tomato, onion, sweet pepper, right? Now, there was a farmer, and even I got some seeds. My neighbor was growing for me some yard-long beans, right? Yard-long bean in Asia is like an onion here. It ain't nothing special. It ain't nothing spectacular. It's just another bean. You get here to New Providence and a yard-long bean costs a yard, right? And so even though you could grow it here very easily, what are let's pick the top 10, what are the first 10 crops that we should be growing to grow our food security?
Well, top 10 crops, you go straight off of the count salad, right? You need your sweet peppers, you need your onions. Once you go from there, you need your tomatoes. You also need your potatoes. You could use Irish potatoes, or you could use sweet potatoes.
Now here's the thing. The biggest import, I think, into the country right now, if not onion, is potato in various frozen, raw, French fry cut, all kind of cut. Potatoes and onions, two biggest imports.
Came off a 700-acre potato farm in Andros. Irish potato.
Irish potato? How long have they been in production?
They've been in production since they've been done in about 28.
Irish potato farm in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Those two.
Well, currently, I don't know. Currently, BAIC is working with them to get their products into Cisco, into these other outlets. Yeah. Some foreigners out in North Carolina.
Hold on. Okay, see? I mean, so you telling me from 2018, people been growing Irish potatoes in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Them Irish potatoes ain't been on no market.
It hardly ever makes it. I mean, because if you look at the Eleuthera market, you would not think that Eleuthera produces pineapples either. because Eleuthera pineapples hardly ever make it to Nassau.
Well, no, I mean, that was the point I was making earlier, right? With Newry Asim, any millionaire, any farmers doing well. Eleuthera's, what happened? Eleuthera's population increase, right? Has tilted the balance. Prior to the population increase, farmers were desperate to get their produce to New Providence and were prepared to drop prices, right? To get it sold. As you see, the scale tip and the population is increased in Eleuthera. It's difficult to get produce out of Eleuthera, and when you do, it have a price on it because they're no longer wholly or primarily dependent on a Nassau market. But Irish potatoes now, the thing about that is that's noticeable in the market, right? First of all, anybody selling locally grown Irish potatoes, they're going to tell us it's locally grown so we understand why the price on it is what it is. But you're saying to me that these aren't Bahamians growing potatoes in the Bahamas?
But nobody wants to market their items as locally grown because there's a stigma associated behind it.
Oh, no, not in the vending spaces I'm in. Vendors believe that because it's locally grown, they could go into the food store and put the same price, or it gets worse, more than what it's sold for in the food store on their product because, quote unquote, it's locally grown.
Well, I mean, you're talking from one aspect, which is the truth, right? Because when the retailer tells the customer it's locally grown, yeah, that's it for their plus. But when you go to that same retailer as a local farmer, they find every reason to knock your prices down. They find every reason. I mean, they use absurd metrics to grade your items. I mean, one time the company said that they wanted my item in a wax box. Right? They would not receive my items if they weren't in a wax box. And when you explain to them, well, why do shipping companies use wax boxes? Because these boxes come from so far in the cold fridge that they need to keep the tomatoes at a certain temperature. Why do I need to buy an expensive wax box if these things coming right from off of my farm, right to your restaurant to put on your table, right? So they use kind of like absurd metrics to deviate from the fact that, all right, we don't want to purchase local.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Consumers want local.
Yes.
Business people don't want to pay the price that is associated with local.
Yes.
Right? And then secondarily, they think that you have a closed market, so you're going to be desperate to sell.
Yes.
We could deal with that in two ways. We deal with that with legislation, describing policy and protocol for local production, local transportation, local trade and shipping, right? Secondarily, what you do as a farmer is you show that business person, oh, that's your business. You don't want to buy the mangoes at this price? Wait till you see how much the mango lemonade can cost, and then wait till you see how much business you will lose because your customers keep asking you for that product and you keep telling them you don't care to provide it for them.
But Aaron, respectfully, right? What you are talking about is if everything was going right. Currently, we have seen that this current government, this current minister, has sided with foreign farmers over Bahamians.
I wouldn't phrase it that way. Let me tell you how I would phrase it. Let me tell you how I would phrase it.
How would you put it?
Let me tell you how I would phrase it. I would phrase it like this: that the political class is so deeply in collusion with the merchant class that sometimes they don't even know how to, when to, or why they ought to extricate themselves from parts thereof. That's how I would have phrased it. I just say it.
You're better with words than me,
I would
right?
phrase it like
because
that.
At this point, we're trying to encourage local farmers. We had an egg crisis in which the price of eggs was too high. Well, on the books, the government says that you have to get 40% of your supply from local farmers. But the government came out, they said that they partnered with a particular merchant to be able to procure cheaper eggs from an outside source. Now, here's the issue with that, right? That outside source doesn't pay NIB. That outside source does not pay our business license. That outside source does not have to deal with our minimum wage. So when persons come and they say, well, oh, the market price, and they say that, oh, well, Bahamian farmers, right, prices are maybe too high. I would like to say that Bahamians, for the most part, their prices represent the true cost of production because the level of subsidies farmers get from the government in the Bahamas does not equate for their prices to be cheaper.
Okay, so watch this. The merchant class, the merchant class. The political class, the political class. But if farmers are caught negotiating, right, between or machinating, figuring out where to position themselves, if the farmers perceive themselves or desire to be a part of the merchant class more than they desire to be farmers that supply their countrymen with food, maybe that's where the problem sits, or that's where the solution lies. And that farmers need to actually start organizing, to really start organizing, and not doing this thing that they've been doing for the last 50 plus years.
Darrell, I'll leave you the last word. Go ahead. Give us some advice.
And this is why we need more than just immigrants in farming.
I agree with that.
I just have to, okay.
Agriculture is a national security issue, whether it's consumables, right, or it is the other non-consumable, like where your clothes and your washcloth and your toothbrush come from, right? That Bahamians have to be a part of the most essential elements of their development in their country, and agriculture is one of them.
We were talking with a backyard farming consultant in general, Gerard Darville. I'm going to invite him back in terms of ideas of what we should be doing in terms of expanding what we produce in the Bahamas. I want to talk more about eggs. I want to talk more about farming. I want to talk more about backyard farming in particular, how Bahamians could get involved and help produce more. But this has been Guardian Radio AM with C.A. Newry. Hey, show the number there, Darville, so people call you.
804-8802. Straight, not box.
No, do the numbers again.
804-8802.
Straight, not box.
Straight, not box.
Have a wonderful day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.